When Americans go to the polls next November, there are going to be two big groups of people who have intense feelings about the outcome, directly opposed to one another. There are a lot of reasons for that, a lot of good reasons, at least it seems to me, for at least one side that's more or less sane to really want their side to prevail. But I also am wondering whether, besides those good reasons, uh, and some less good reasons why some people have a need for enemies, apparently. Whether there's something in our culture that orients us toward thinking about us versus them and being very invested in our side triumphing over the other side. We're going to be watching the NFL move toward the Super Bowl, and whole cities full of people are going to be motivated to have their side triumph in a football game. I have had that part of me as far back as I can remember, or at least as far back as being 5 years old, maybe four. My father was on the faculty of Michigan State. At that point, it was Michigan State College. This was 1950, 1951. And Michigan State had a great football team back then. Got to be the best football team in the country, actually. 28-game winning streak. And I was hugely invested in the outcome of every single game. I went to the games with my dad, and Michigan State in its green and white uniforms and its fight song. I got completely swept up. I remember the Rose Bowl, is it 1953 or 1954? Michigan State playing UCLA. I mean, I could hardly sleep the night before. It seemed like the whole fate of the universe depended on who was going to win that game. And I still, when I turn on a TV and I'm watching a game, I always pick a side, and I have feelings about what happens, whether the side that I'm picking, assuming it's not a side that I've already got an attachment to, whether things go their way, or whether the runner gets tackled or gets breaks loose. I can get very involved in that. I've watched that happen all my life, and inside me. And I wonder, is that a natural thing that even back in the days of the hunter-gatherers, different groups had that feeling about our group versus their group? I really don't know. But there's something also kind of irrational about it that I've observed in myself, for example. When I was a Michigan State fan, I was also a Detroit Tiger fan. And I remember how there would be a change when a player got traded away from my team. They would cease to have this nimbus of goodness surrounding them. And when a player got traded from the team that used to be one of the other guys, Rocky Colavito for the Cleveland Indians became a Detroit Tiger, and I noticed that suddenly he was a good guy. That made no sense, and I noticed that it made no sense. Yet our culture gets us going on those things. And when I was in high school, we had pep rallies to get us all revved up for whether our team, a football team or a basketball team or gymnastics or whatever, they're going to the big game or the big meet, whether we were going to triumph. So how much of what we see in the world around us, and it's not just the United States, obviously. I mean, when the World Cup in soccer happens, I mean, whole countries go crazy if they're winning, and get despondent if their team loses some close important game. So it's widespread, and I wonder. I'm not going to offer any answer because I don't really know the answer. Is this human nature expressing itself? Or has our culture trained us in this civilization in which, as I've said in my Better Human Story, and that's my website is a betterhumanstory.org, where I talk about the meaning of what's happened to humankind since the beginnings of civilization. Is this something that our cultures have fed into us because we plunged inadvertently into an anarchic situation where there's inevitably a war of all against all? I'd like to know the answer. I don't know quite how to find it out, but I'm making this little recording to raise the question because that question is alive in my mind. Hope you find the question an interesting one. Thank you. Bye-bye.